Okay, we're going to remove the air cowling, and this will give us access to the carburetors. First we remove these retainers on either side, and then this will just lift right out. Go ahead and set this aside. Okay, first we're going to unscrew these 4 bolts that hold the carburetor in place. Okay, the first thing I want to do is lay out all my parts from my rebuild kit. Let's go ahead and dump those out right here. I want to keep my new parts separate from my old parts. And first we're going to remove the bowl. It's these 4 screws right here. Okay, and now that we have the bowl part, you'll see that this is the float. We're not going to replace that. We are going to replace this gasket here, so we'll pull that one off, set it aside. We'll remove the pin retaining the screw retaining the hinge pin for the float. Take that off. I want to be careful not to mess with the float. So if you see, the float pin is hanging right there from the bottom of the float. So we want to just gently pull that off and lay it down exactly the way it went on. We're going to take the new pin . Okay, so I'm going to line up our new parts here for you. We've got our pin, our hinge, our washer, and our seat. And I've already got the new spring in my hand, so I'm going to discard the old pin and spring, install the new spring on the pin, and then we're going to go ahead and hang the pin right on the float, just like that. And we'll set that aside for now. This is our old hinge, so we'll replace it with our new hinge. Just slide that right in there. And then going to remove the old seat right here. And it's interesting, that didn't have a gasket on it, so we're going to put the gasket onto this one, put that in, tighten that down all the way, and then we'll place the new pin back in, lining it up like so. And we'll put the screw back in. Alright, stop recording. Okay, I flipped the screwdriver over. We'll go ahead and tighten down the retaining screw for the hinge. Now we changed the height of our seat because I added that washer in, so no doubt the float is going to require some adjustment. We'll go ahead and replace this gasket as well. So we're going to pile up all of our old gaskets right here. We've got this new one right here. We'll slide that right down on top there. And go ahead and replace this gasket as well. Just like so. There's a little pin there to help keep it in the right spot. Pin on this side as well. See right there. What we want is the float top, which is right across here, to be level with this gasket. So level with this surface. So what we're going to do is just stick a little screwdriver in here so that we don't push too far down on that jet. And we're just going to bend it just a little so that when the jet sits in the closed position, the float is level. It's important that all these gaskets sit really well. And we'll alternate to make sure we tighten it down evenly. Okay, so we have all of our screws out. We'll go ahead and take this plate off, pull this gasket out. Now, 2 gaskets came in the kit, so we'll see which is which. Oh, that's the difference. One has the hole in the middle and the other has the hole on the side. So we're not going to use this one. It's for a different carburetor. We're going to replace it with this one here. And we'll just, probably best to set it right on top of the plate here, like so. And line up the holes again. And we'll reassemble this. And this carburetor is almost done. Okay, so next we're going to remove the side plate from. We want to be really careful not to drop these screws. I know that because I've dropped them before. So one of the good things about doing a carburetor rebuild is over the years with different leaks here and there, I've taken these parts off. And every time you take them off and you put them on without a new gasket, you run the risk of air leaking in there. That's bad. So replacing these gaskets is always a good idea. So we'll go ahead and clean this surface off here. Okay, so we found the dilemma to the different gaskets. So this gray one here, or the brown one's more, it's fatter. This is the one that came out of the motor. This is the new one. So in the instructions, they tell you if your carburetor number is within these numbers, to use number 1, which is the brown one. Our carburetor is within these numbers here, so we're going to use the black one, like the instructions say. So you take the gasket, make sure it's clean, and lay it into the housing here. And it has to stretch into that channel, and if it has a little bit of lubrication on it, which it does, it'll stay. Okay, now we're ready to put our rebuilt throttle back on the motor, so we'll put this set screw in first. And we want to look at it from an angle here to make sure this gasket doesn't move around. And we'll carefully lower it into place. I'm watching to make sure the gasket doesn't move. And it hasn't, so we'll press it right in there. And we'll go ahead and put this screw in. This screw should hold everything in place until we get the bolts in. Okay, we've got the screws in. All bolts are the same size, so we'll just work these back into place. And that should do it. Carburetor number 1 rebuilt. I want to show you something over here on the side that I did a couple years ago. If you look right here on the side of this motor, or on the side of this carburetor, that's black marine tex. So what Evinrude did was they put a little ball bearing in there, and what that was is a hole where a hole was drilled in order to allow fuel to pass through. They drilled from the side and the top. So there is no hole in the bottom, and then to fix that hole, to cause it not to leak, they shoved a little ball bearing in there. Well, over the years, it's a 1986 motor like I mentioned before, that starts to leak. So I was able to pop out all the ball bearings, fill the tube with some wood dowels actually, fill it with black marine tex, and then when the wood dowels were removed, the channel in there is still open. That fixed the problem. So if you do have a leaky carb problem with an older motor, you can take those ball bearings out, and this fix was done at least 5 or 6 years ago, and it's held up really well. Okay, so in order to get to this second throttle, we need to remove this fuel rail by undoing this screw and this screw, and I also see that in order to get to this throttle, we're going to need to take this cowling off. So let's do that next. Found something interesting when I pulled this carburetor off. You can see that the gasket here has been cut. I'll go ahead and pull it out all the way so you can see. But you can see it's been cut there and it was folded over. So that is certainly a problem. And then also, while I had this carburetor out, since we're going to replace the water pump anyway, I wanted to show you right in here. You can see the linkage really clearly. Right down in here. You can see the linkage really clearly to the shifter. And we're going to need access to that when we drop the lower unit, so I'm going to go ahead and leave the bottom 2 carburetors off. Okay, so the other side of the motor proved to be a little bit more difficult. As you can see, I had to take all 3 carburetors out. I went ahead and lined them up so I get them back in the right order. And if we go over to the motor, I'll show you why that happened. Okay, you'll see that Evinrude didn't make it easy on this side of the throttle body housing. The other side, these side plates were accessible. Well, on this one they're not, so I had to take all the carburetors off, take the relay switches off the top, loosen the 2 screws on the bottom, remove this vacuum plug, and then lift off this entire assembly. So that I can work on these 3 plates and replace the gaskets in there. Pretty sure the guy that I hired last time didn't do this based on how much work it was to get this sucker out.